So how do you take a small kingdom and turn it into a global superpower? What's the secret sauce that lets ancient rulers build these massive empires that literally change the world? Well, today, we're going to crack open the empire-building playbook, and we're starting our journey way back in ancient India.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're in the magnificent city of Pataliputra. This was the heart of the powerful Magadha Empire. Just try to picture it. You've got soldiers marching everywhere, markets just overflowing with incredible goods from faraway lands, and a king whose power stretched for months in any direction. This place, it wasn't just some big city, it was the engine of a continental power.
And that really brings us to the big questions, right? What really is the difference between a plain old kingdom and a full-blown empire? And, maybe more importantly, is there some kind of secret recipe for building one? We are absolutely about to find out. Okay, so first things first. What actually makes an empire an empire? Let's break down what separates it from just a regular kingdom. You know, the word itself gives us a pretty big clue. It comes from the Latin word imperium, which means supreme power. And really, that's the core of it. An empire isn't just one country. It's a huge collection of different territories and all kinds of different people, all answering to one single dominant ruler. So here it is, the key difference. A king, he rules his own people. But an emperor rules over other kings. In ancient India, they had the perfect term for this, Raja Diraja, which literally means the king of kings. It's the ultimate power move, the thing that takes you from a kingdom to an empire. Now, being a king of kings is an incredible balancing act. I mean, you have to juggle a massive job description. You've got to keep a powerful army to make sure everyone stays in line, create a whole bureaucracy to collect taxes, make up laws, create a common currency, control all the important resources, and build a network of roads just to hold the whole thing together. It is a monumental task. So, how do you even get a job like that? Is there a formula for success? Well, it turns out there kind of is. History gives us a surprisingly clear playbook, and it really comes down to 3 essential ingredients. It almost always starts with one thing: raw military power. A strong army isn't just a good idea, it's non-negotiable. First, you use it to conquer new lands. Then, you use it to keep those conquered kingdoms in line, turning them into what are called tributary states, which is basically a nice way of saying they have to pay you money and soldiers to stay on your good side. But here's the thing. A powerful army is expensive. And that brings us to component number 2. You have to control the resources. We're talking about fertile land to grow food, forests for timber to build things, and, most importantly, mines for metals like iron. These resources are the fuel that powers the entire imperial engine. Okay, so you've got a strong army, you've got a lock on resources. Now you're ready for the final piece of the economic puzzle, trade. If you can control the major trade routes, you can tax every single caravan and ship that passes through. And that generates massive wealth. It becomes this perfect feedback loop. More trade means more tax money, which you can use to fund an even bigger army. So that's the theory. That's the playbook. But how did it work in the real world? For that, let's turn to our case study, the Kingdom of Magadha. They executed this strategy absolutely perfectly to become India's first great empire. Honestly, Magadha was dealt a winning hand from the very start, all thanks to its geography. It was sitting right in the middle of the incredibly fertile Ganga Plains. The nearby forests gave them tons of timber and, this is crucial, war elephants. The whole area was also rich in iron ore, which meant stronger plows for more food and, you guessed it, much better weapons for the army. And to top it all off, the rivers acted like natural superhighways for trade and transport. But of course, natural advantages don't mean anything without ambitious leaders. And rulers like Ajatashatru and the Nanda dynasty did not let them go to waste. They systematically used all of Magadha's resource wealth to build an absolutely unstoppable army, conquering and absorbing their neighbors one by one until what was once a regional kingdom had become a sprawling, powerful empire. But just as Magadha was solidifying its empire in the east, a totally new, world-shaking force was storming in from the west, and this was setting the stage for an epic collision of worlds. Enter Alexander of Macedon, Alexander the Great. After he conquered the massive Persian Empire, he pushed his armies into India in 327 BCE. But after years and years of non-stop fighting, his troops were exhausted. They just refused to go any further. And soon after that, Alexander himself died, and his massive empire just shattered into pieces. It's a huge lesson, right? Military conquest alone is not enough to hold an empire together. It can all fall apart in a flash. But this incredible clash of worlds gave us a legendary moment. After this really brutal battle, Alexander finally captured the local king, a man named Porus. He asked him, "How do you want to be treated?" And Porus's reply was so simple and fearless. He just said, "Like a king." Alexander was so blown away by his courage that he actually gave him his kingdom back.
So, empires rise, they clash, and eventually they all fall. But what do they leave behind? What is their ultimate legacy?
Well, even after they crumble, empires leave behind ghosts. They create permanent links between cultures. They build trade routes that can last for centuries. And they spread ideas, technologies, and laws that become the foundation for whatever comes next. In short, they fundamentally reshape the world. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. The ghosts of these ancient empires, they're not just in history books. They're all around us, in the languages we speak, the laws we follow, even the roads we travel on. So the real question is, once you start looking for it, where can you see their legacy in your world?